Okay, so I feel like the theme of today is sleep because I'm going to talk to you about a mattress brand, Nectar. And so Nectar came to us, and as you guys, as we've been discussing over the past few days, there's a lot of G2C mattresses right now. And so I think there's like 175 different brands or something crazy like that. And so Nectar, they really wanted to stand out. And so they basically said, come up with an idea that scares us. And so we were like, all right, let's do that. So I'm going to start by showing you guys the hero spot, and then we'll go from there to show like how we actually made this work on social.
I was on the fast track for burnout, but then one day I took a nap on a Nectar.
It's not too soft, it's not too firm.
Yawn opened my eyes to closing my eyes. I love him.
I wrote the international bestseller, Power Nap, and I never looked back. This is Nectar!
I could have this Nectar forever.
What do we need? We need a nap! We need a nap! Devin, tell us your story.
I just can't sleep.
You can sleep on a Nectar. This is the world's quietest revolution! I love you too! Go to sleep.
So I don't know if you guys got like Tony Robbins vibes there, but that's what we were going for. And so to just take a few steps back, over the past, let's say, year and a half, I've noticed we started working with a lot of D2C brands, from Instacart to Grammarly, and disruptor brands. And we noticed, like, I started to get the sense, like, no one really knows, like, the secret sauce, or do they want to just work with YouTube, or, you know, we'll be brought into conversations with YouTube and they'll tell us best practices. And as a creative agency and production partner, we will apply those best practices and come up with an idea built for YouTube or built for Facebook and Instagram. But we started to realize is like our clients were hesitant to commit to a big creative idea if they what if they end up wanting to do DRTV? Or what if they end up wanting to do this in a 15-second spot? So we kind of realized like we need to build a model that, like, how can we create content and a big idea, but that can work at a performance level, that can also work in direct response. Like, we had a lot of jobs, there were a lot of jobs that needed to be done and a lot of variables as people were testing and learning. So how could we bring our expertise in this space and our understanding of social and working with all of the platforms to help them come up with a creative solve? And so we really like to think about like brandformance as a big buzz term right now. And we think that you can have a big idea and that it can coexist with brandformance. And so I'm gonna take you through like, and when you think about the full funnel, I think it's thinking about like not every asset has to do everything. And I think we've even run into this a few times where we tried to have one spot that was trying to do both things, but you can only like hit someone over the head with so many value props. You can only like, you want someone to see the spot and like, oh, like, wait, what am I watching? Because like that's gonna help at an awareness level, like that surprise factor, that almost like the confusion factor. So we like to think like, what's this big idea? And for this, it was like, all right, we're a mattress brand, but what if this brand had a motivational sleeper? And we went from there. And when we thought about like what we would capture and how we would make this like a big idea, we actually ended up thinking, okay, well, Tony Robbins, it's a movement, right? He has a cult following. So he has like his fans, we're gonna have bedheads. And so we captured a lot of content and built out this whole world. And so as we all know, like in DR, testimonials work. So we created like these like fake testimonials with all of these different bedheads. This is the 30-second spot.
I'm Jan Janssen.
And the reason that I'm showing it to you guys.
I got my 365-night trial from Nectar. I slept for a whole year.
I love you, Jan.
With Nectar's Forever warranty, I went from loser to snoozer.
I just can't sleep.
You can sleep on a Nectar. What time is it?
So now you've seen a lot of these shots already. And so we talk a lot about platform intentionality, and I think, and it's a buzzword, and like, let's unpack it, because what does that even really mean? And I challenge us like at work every day to be like, okay, what do we mean by that? Because it could be like, it could be ad placement specific, right? It's not just about what works best on Instagram. Like, what works best on Instagram stories is different than works best in feed. Like, do you need sound on? Do you need sound off? Like, there are so many variables. What should the opening shot be? And so bringing our production expertise and bringing our like creative expertise, I think my production team hates me, but I'm always like, okay, like, let's think of this as like, what are all the different types of shots and what are all the different things we want to convey? So like, we have this idea about mattress crowd surfing. So like, how can we take that and how can that feel unique, and like, how does that stand out in various feeds? And so when we plan our production, we like to think and we like to work with our clients and think about, okay, like, you want to have some kind of Facebook, Instagram buy. Maybe you want to do stories, maybe you don't want to do stories, but like, we strongly think we should capture this for vertical video 100%, even if you're not ready yet, because you'll probably want to test that at some point. And so we try to like encourage our clients to, we're like, let's just capture as many like variables and build this in a modular way. So if you decide you want to test various opening shots, if you want to test this and we can build that learning agenda, like you build that, we'll help you actually produce based off of those learning agendas that you're establishing. And then we'll have a lot of different content. So now I'm gonna take you through like different iterations, and you're gonna see similar shots come to life built for various ad plays.
Nectar has free shipping and free return. Free yourself from being awake.
I think there's multiple videos playing.
Sleep is a life choice for life. Nectar has free shipping and free
Can
return.
you go back one, sorry.
Free yourself.
One more. So you don't have to, so these, I just pulled some of the storyboards, and so like, I made our team, I was like, we need to make sure all of these storyboards also work in vertical. Like, I know you're telling me we can crop this and post it, I'm like, I don't believe it. I don't believe it, I don't trust you. And then I think it's like, actually thinking about the mindset and like the mindset, like just because it works and can be framed in 9x16 doesn't mean it's like the way you, like what you want to be seeing. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I don't like when I see a cut down of a spot that feels like a commercial. Like, that frustrates me. Or what's even worse is when you see a 1x1 on an Instagram story and then it has like a lot of the text at the bottom, and I'm like, you just repurposed this asset. Like, let's be creative in that space. And don't get me wrong, like, I know that that's a reality of a lot of clients right now, and I see some of our brands doing it with the assets we're creating, and that frustrates me very much. But I think that, like, we like to have fun, and so obviously this first on the right-hand side, that's more of like a teaser, similar idea to what you saw before, but we capture that with the intention of like, let's get him jumping up and down because we think that will be interesting and vertical. But then we're like, all right, well, let's think about like, how do we make this a native asset where we ask someone what kind of sleeper there are. Obviously, that's much more of an awareness play. But I think that deeper level of engagement may be like, so this yawn character can start to be someone they recognize when they see a more like hard-hitting asset about the 365-night trial the next time they're retargeted.
Nectar has free.
Sorry.
Nectar has free shipping and free return.
Ignore that
Free
sound.
yourself from being awake.
Here's an asset, and this style of this asset, so yeah, this is intended for sound off, basically. We were inspired by like the Now This News format, thinking about like, okay, so how, we thought about, okay, we have this YouTube hero spot. What does that awareness play to introduce this Tony Robbins like movement look like in a sound off environment? So we're gonna tell this story and like build the hype as if it's like a real piece of news. Obviously that is definitely top of funnel.
Free shipping and free return.
For the right
Free
match.
yourself
Get
from
them.
being
Sorry.
awake.
Searching.
So
Start sleeping.
this asset we
on your
created,
back,
this was a
side.
15-second pre-roll. But what we really wanted to do is like, we get it, like YouTube's in, I think, number 2 or 3 search engine. And so how do we like lean into that and the fact that like, you're probably Googling best mattress, or you're looking for like Purple versus Casper versus Nectar. That's the mindset you're in on the consumer journey. And so we created a series of different ads that like speak to the things that you're probably researching, based on like, and it was through partnerships with YouTube that we decided like, okay, that's what we want to do. That's how we want to target. And then as I mentioned earlier, like I think working with the platforms and what excites me every day is like, as all of these platforms are constantly innovating like their functionality, how can we create with this in mind? So how does this crowd surfing look like in Instagram carousel? And then as I mentioned before, like every asset is not gonna do everything. And so whether it's sound off or like, I'm not gonna lie, we didn't create the asset in the right-hand corner, but the brand created that because they obviously needed to like hit home some of these, you know, value props a little bit harder. But I think it's important that you, every time you're seeing all of these assets, you're seeing a consistent campaign. And I think that that's kind of how you're building this full funnel cross-platform approach. And then that's just like basically a quote from our client saying like, their ideas are endless. And I think when you build a big idea like this, it allows for like, there are creative solutions to building for all of these different platforms. You just have to think of, there's just a lot of things you need to factor in, like the mindset, the UX, the experience, and all of that. And I think you can build a big idea and a brand performance campaign.
Now I'm on? Okay. Any questions for Marissa?
Hi, that was great, very creative, very fresh. It's clearly tongue-in-cheek, but I have to ask you, in this kind of post-truth era where consumers don't often know what they're looking at from large institutions, do you think it's appropriate to talk, to make fun of it and blur the lines further with fake testimonials and things like that? And I know it's tongue-in-cheek and it's designed to break through, but just wondering if you think about that at all.
No, I think that's a really great question, and that was a conversation we definitely had because even on other ads for other clients where we've actually like, we've done real testimonials and we've done testimonials with actors, and it's like that gray line of like what's authentic but what actually like is gonna be the best video and perform. I think we really did try to like lean in really hard into the testimonial aspect here. So like they're wearing bedhead t-shirts or a pillow on their head. We really went like that satire angle. But I do think that that is a really great and interesting point. And I do think, so we tried to lean into that more, but it'll be interesting to see how people do respond in that regard.
Someone over.
Hi, I'm Josie with Sleep Number. And this is really interesting because we're not really in that D2C space in the same way, not bed in a box. But I'm curious because there are so many DTC mattress companies, how do you see yourself differentiating yourselves from them? Like as far as, features, it was, warranty and shipping, which they all have. So is it more about the creative that's a differentiator?
Yeah, so on this one in particular, like the client specifically said to us, we don't want to like talk about the mattress. And so for us, we're like, okay, everyone else talks about like the memory foam and then this and that. They're like, we don't want to talk about that. The one thing that they do offer more than anything else is the 365-night trial, which is the longest trial period, which is, as a consumer, to me, that's also the most compelling. Free shipping, free return feels like a lot of companies offer that these days, and we just heard it probably 40 times. But I think that they were trying to kind of just make a splash so that when you do see even just their product shots later on, you now know, because their ad spend is is minuscule compared to Casper. So like, how are they gonna stand out? And like, they need to like make you remember them.
Maya.
Hi, Craig Calder, Douglas Elliman. So the creative execution was very innovative and unique, and you guys took a different look at it, and you did, I'm sure, scare them. But at the end of the day, you're driving to a landing page, correct? And did you continue any of this creative to the landing page itself? Is there anything different that you did? Because at the end of the day, OTT or wherever, you're just driving consumers from the top of the funnel down the conversion, path, and you didn't. Nobody said anything about converting people once you've pulled them in.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So this campaign launched last week, so stay tuned for some performance results. But there are some things that we're doing over the next few weeks where we thought about, okay, how can we create like momentum and how can we build this platform? Like we thought about influencer marketing. Like we did think about other places, and you know, there's a world where we could create DR, use this footage and have Yawn doing VO and make it a more hard-hitting DR spot, like optimized for TV. But I think we thought about, I mean, there are some assets that are swipe up, like you could buy the mattress right there. So it wasn't all about the landing page. The landing page, I think when I showed that was to give you just to show like how the big idea could come to life. But like, we want to sell mattresses, you know, like you're not actually going to go see this Yawn character speak. So the end game is definitely to drive people to sell mattresses.
Hi, Christina with Freshly. So I think this is a great campaign, and obviously there's going to be more that you're doing when it comes to performance marketing. But in terms of your content strategy, do you have a campaign that you go all in, and that is the only thing that this brand is pushing out into the market? Or do you have these pulse periods complemented with evergreen that's not necessarily the same look and feel as this campaign?
Yeah, so we're actually working, so the parent company of Nectar is Resident. We're working with them across a few of their different brands to do like a bunch of like low lift creative. And so we actually are taking like, we have our social team who works on like a lot of our Netflix stuff, so it has much more of like an editorial lens. And we're having them take a lot of their product shots and like, okay, how can we use like dynamic subs and how can we create like a little bit more like innovative assets using what like is really a performance piece. And we're really in the market right now like testing and just trying to like have some fun in post there and see what's working.
Anyone else? Okay, great. Well, you can stay put because now